man, here we go again.
Oh hey bud, what you doing there? Oh hey Nintendo, yeah, I was playing my favorite Zelda game, Link Between Worlds here. Link Between Worlds? Why would you do that? Well, because it's my favorite. The puzzles are super tight, the characters are super fun. Yeah. But we have like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. So many Zelda games with like more content. You can play the game for longer. Yeah, but it's not really about length for me. It's more about quality of content. It really feels like everything here is important. Breath of the Wild feels like there's a lot of stuff in it that doesn't really have to be there, and Link Between Worlds doesn't really feel that way to me. All right, kid, you're pissing me off. You better stop this before I do something you're gonna regret.
Don't you mean do something you're going to regret?
No.
Do you guys remember what it was like before the Switch? When games like this were the norm? The age of handheld gaming. When Nintendo would publish $10 quaint little adventures that lasted about 6 hours and you get a kick out of it. Or even $40 for something like a 12-hour campaign. Since the handheld console cartridges never had as much space as the mainline discs, that meant that every time they always tried their best to be as efficient as possible with how they were creating it and how they were spending your time. I mean, you're worried about the Wii U having no games. Fuck, man. Backwards compatibility to the DS meant a massive library off jump, but then you also had Luigi's Mansion 2, the Pokemon game, Robo,
Luigi had a few
Smash Brothers,
actually every
type,
Samus Returns,
so many
Tamagotchi,
Shovel Knight,
the first one,
that was
Street Fighter 4.
I don't know why they did that. That was
Kirby Robo,
that weird thing with the
Link Between Worlds,
Street Pass is super cool. God, my dad keeps saying that they should bring it to the Switch. I don't really see the video. I think that's a weird. I'd like it. I just think it's a weird thing to do. But the point is, the main thing that all of these games had in common is that they respected you. They respected your time. It was a lot more likely for you to finish them. Recently, I did a study on my viewer base to see how many people were actually finishing their games. And it turns out, not a lot. According to the survey did on Steam users specifically, out of a 200 game library, only an 1/8 of them ever get beaten. The amount that make it to your backlog to where you're actually interested in playing it at all, 1/4. And the amount of games that you give a decent shot, and the criteria for that was more than an hour of gameplay, less than half. And I really can't blame you. Nintendo used to be the AAA spot for shorter games. Yes, even though they had the mainline consoles, they also had the handhelds, and they lived together in two different ecosystems that had different purposes. Mainline games could focus a lot more on the cinema and on the length of the experience to really engross you in the world, and handheld games were forced to care a lot more about the player. I mean, when you only have a few gigabytes of memory to spare, you really have to try your best to leave a good impression. I think a big part of the issue is that a lot of the larger gaming zeitgeist kind of sees shorter as like a compromise. If your game's shorter, maybe it was cheaper to make, maybe it doesn't have the same polish or quality as a longer game. But I see it all the time with games like Insomniac Spider-Man and Portal 2 and like Dead Space, that's just simply not the case. It's probably a bigger reason than you think on why retro games are so popular now, is just because they're shorter. I think that's a big reason why Breath of the Wild is so lacking with its dungeons, even why Tears of the Kingdom was so lacking. I think it's a big reason why I like Pokemon games so much. But once Nintendo erased the handheld side of things and created the Switch, that meant that you now were forced into that other ecosystem. Every game on the Switch is a massive AAA mainline $60 experience, even though the Switch was marketed as both a handheld and a mainline game. They merged both departments. But I'm not even just talking about in like a purely financial aspect. If we're talking purely content, shorter games are easier to consume. Personally, I consume video games from a literature perspective. I like to dissect them. I like to absorb the content. I like to see what gameplay decisions are made in order to enhance the plot. But if every game is $60 in an 80-hour campaign, not only can I not afford that financially, I can't afford that temporally. And neither can you guys. The average time of a campaign that's beaten story mode is 20 hours, which is really funny considering the amount of campaigns that are under 10 hours is shrinking. I have a lot of passion for the hobby, so it's important to me that it's accessible. But if we're relying on indies to make it accessible, that's just not going to work out. Most indie creators are kind of niche. Even the ones that are big, the expectation is that you're in the space to hear of them. No, I don't expect my coworker Jimmy to know who Gun Nose is, but I expect him to know Pikachu. That was the point of the 3DS. Yes, I know Silk Song was an international sensation, but that doesn't mean that Sarah from Sprouts knows what the fuck I'm talking about. And the funny thing is, the reason why the indies even have the onus on them in the first place is because the Switch marketed itself as an indie machine. Oh, you didn't have a PC, but you wanted to play indie games? Well, here's the Switch. Buy the Switch. But all that means is that Nintendo doesn't have to make the small games anymore, because that's your fault now. Now you make the small games. And now the argument is that none of the games are small, even like the ones that used to be. What the fuck do you mean Mario vs. Donkey Kong was initially $60? No, the fuck it wasn't, bro. And that's not even talking about that. Jesus Christ. Oh, ugh. I don't want to look at that. Yeah, just go that way. Yeah. Nintendo doesn't really care about your time or money anymore. And the fact of the matter is that they used to be the only one that did. And to continue my point on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I think the fact that they don't understand that is the same reason why they can hide under the benefit of the doubt here. Why is it so hard to get people into One Piece? Well, because you have to watch 300 episodes of it before it gets good. Why is it so hard to get people into video games? Well, because you have to play 2 hours of it before it gets good. So you're saying my choice is either to get past the 8-hour-long fucking intro for Persona 5, and then it's a transformative experience that'll change my life forever, or I could just watch a fucking movie. But since it's the norm for everybody, it's just accepted. Ooh, man, that's just how gaming is. Ooh, that's how it's always been. Ooh, that's how it should be. Gaming companies even have the fucking gall to look at you and say, ooh, this campaign is 100 hours, as if it's a selling point. But that doesn't tell me that you wrote 100 hours of good content. It just told me that you wrote 100 hours of content. If anything, the length of your game is more of a burden. Like, you're telling me that the selling point here is that it's more expensive? I have to commit more of my rare free time to this in order to enjoy it? It's the same reason why I haven't started Metaphor, even though I bought it at full price like a fucking sucker. Because even though I'm confident that I'll probably like it, because let's be completely honest, that game looks fucking awesome, it's just so goddamn long. Every time I look at it in my library, I'm like, well, maybe next time. And the next time never comes because it's so intimidating. That was why Nintendo's handhelds were so important to me. They were a powerful force. They fought back against this. It's really not that hard to justify, like, buying and playing something like Gunvolt because it doesn't take long for me to actually have something to talk about there. I'm less than 50 minutes in and I already have 3 of the 7 dungeons completed. That's actually kind of a lie. This game is really dumb. But the only reason I know that is because it's so fast to get through. So I actually get the gist of how anime and kind of contrived and easy the story is. Meanwhile, every conversation about Monster Hunter moving forward is going to be, dude, I fucking love that game. I have so many hours put into it. Dude, me too. What's your favorite part? You realize I gotta kill you now. But now there's no AAA representation for even the good part of short games. I mean, Fire Emblem Awakenings was 30 hours on the 3DS, and then 3 Houses on the Switch was 50 hours. How am I supposed to know if Gunvolt 3 is worth my time? There's not enough hours in the day! Listen, long games are important, okay? Especially when they are long for a reason. I really don't think Persona 5 should be a shorter game. Even with that stupid ass intro. Okay, maybe a little bit shorter, just make the intro more fun, please. Please. For Persona 4 Revival, just cut the grinding a little bit, you know, like make it cleaner, you know? But there is a reason why these games are long. It's because the story itself does not compromise any of the content for the sake of brevity. It's not accessible. It's not for a mainstream audience, and that's not what it's made to be. But the reason it can exist is because it had the counterweight of those accessible games. The point of this video is not to shit on longer games. I just want to remind you that shorter games are really the backbone of the industry, to illuminate what makes games like A Short Walk so special, and most importantly, to teach you how the fuck to clean up that backlog. So what I do personally is I have 3 folders on my computer. I have my favorites, I have my backlog, and I have my priority backlog. My backlog is all the games I intend to play, and my priority backlog is a folder that does not exceed 3 games, and those are games I'm either currently playing or games that I'm playing next. So that means no matter what, it does not exceed 3 games, and no matter what, those games are next. They're either next or they're dropped. One of the two. Listen, there are so many fucking games. Alright, there's so many, and as much as I would love to play all of them, you really can't. And so you have to hedge your bets on what is worth your time. Whether or not what's worth your time is a few large games or a lot of smaller games is really more up to personal preference. But considering the responses on my survey, it seems like a lot of people have an issue with an overwhelming backlog, or at least an overwhelming library in general. So the idea here is to make gaming less intimidating. And with that being said, you have reached the end of the video. To those who participated in the poll, thank you. And to those who are curious about participating in the next one, I have a Discord server with the goal of getting more answers. So that way, my journalism can be more specific. Today's was a little bit more of an opinion piece. I wanted to see if I could mix that in, see, add some spice into the pot here. But I mean, the goal here was still to educate you, if not just on my opinion, then also on how the general public interacts with video games. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting and have a wonderful rest of your day.